Hello everyone and welcome back on my channel. This time around we will be talking about a book that is very special and dear to me, Loveless by the amazing author Alice Oseman. This was not my first time with Alice Oseman. I'm actually quite a fan of hers. It's not the first review of her I'm doing on this channel either. If you go back you will find my review of I Was Born for This, which is a book I really enjoyed. And so when I heard for the first time that she was working on this book and that it was going to be a coming of age, coming out Ace and Arrow story, I was pretty excited. I think it's fair to announce that I identify as ace and as homo-romantic. I'm going to be honest, reading this book, I'm thinking that I might also be on the arrow spectrum. So yeah, this book may have helped me realize that, but we will not be talking about me, we will be talking about the book. But so, a first good point I guess for the book is that it can help you figuring out stuff about yourself. I mean, I've never doubted that, but this book, I mean, it worked for me. But yeah, anyway, if I have one critique to say, I think the chapters in the beginning are a bit short, and it's a bit weird when you read it. It's hard to get into the situation and get into the feelings of the characters and get to know who they are and how they talk and stuff if the chapters are so short. From what I can remember from Alice Oseman writing, she doesn't usually write chapters that are so short. Thinking back on it, it really feels like there is a turning point in the book, and there is one obviously in the storytelling and in the characters and how she feels toward what she feels and what she thinks and stuff. So there is a turning point in the story itself, but in the book also, in the way it's written, I think there is a very clear difference between the beginning of the book and the second half of the book. So I don't know exactly if it was a book Alice Oseman has been writing for a very long time, and maybe her writing changed along the course of the writing of the book. So that's maybe why the beginning is a bit, I don't know exactly how to say it, but I think the beginning of the book is not that great compared to the ending. I thought the first part of this book was very difficult to read, and for very different reasons. First of all, I don't think it's my favorite part because there is a lot of school and English stuff, and as someone who lives in Switzerland and speaks French, I didn't understand everything with the whole marriage proposal thing with the university thing and stuff. I don't even know if it's a real thing or if it's something she totally made up for that book, but that was a bit hard to follow for me as a native French speaker. The fact that all the journey she's going through with accepting herself and learning who she is and stuff, it was a bit triggering at points, because she has to deal with a lot of acephobia, and I don't know if you call it aromophobia. She has to deal with a lot of self-hatred because of how she always felt toward love and sex and relationships, and how she's learning that she's actually not in the norm, I guess. So it was a bit hard to read because it broke my heart, and at some points I was stop trying so hard to be like everyone else, and it was frustrating because I was angry at her, but it was necessary for the story. And I'm not saying that it was badly written in that way, because it was not, and it was important that her character faced those type of fears and thoughts and stuff. But to me, as someone who's ace and proud, I guess, it was pretty triggering to read, but it was the point, I think. So for that, I think Alice did a very great job. I think I like the second part of the book better because we got to that point where she was understanding stuff and also meeting people who she could relate to. Sunil, for example, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, I love him so much. I don't even know how to explain why, but as soon as I saw him. And you know, if you go into this book knowing already about the ace community and stuff, when we got to the description of like his pin, I was like, oh my god, he's like you, baby. I was so happy. Oh, it was so cute. So I loved him a great lot. I think I enjoyed the book for its message, for some of the characters that are absolutely precious. I will be talking about them later in this video. And I love this book for the story it's trying to say, because when we're talking about representation, it's no secret that we have barely any ace or hero representation in the media, and part of it is because we are like a small percentage of the population, so it's logical, but at the same time we exist, so we should be able to be represented. The only show and books I follow who I think did that pretty well are Shadowhunter and The Mortal Instruments, with the characters of Raphael, which is canonly aro and asexual, like Georgia, the main character of this book. Raphael was the first character I've read as aro and ace, like in canon, and I liked his characterization, even if I couldn't like totally relate to him. It's the same with Georgia, by the way. I mean, I can relate to some of the stuff she's going through in the book, some of the thoughts she had, some of the situations she was in. I totally relate to some of it, and a part of it I can't, and that's okay. Obviously, people and lives are different, so we're going to be living different experiences, even if we do identify with the same label. And the fact that I still identify as homo-romantic may be part of why I couldn't totally relate to Georgia, and also the fact that I came around my sexuality and orientation in a very different way that she did. I think I don't know if I was older than her actually, because it was pretty much the same age, but I had already heard about the asexual spectrum and what it was, so when it came to me, I wasn't like as scared, I guess, as her, and as clueless. But yeah, no, I think this book is very important because it showcases how it can be for an asexual and an hetero person to like learn about it, and to, I think it tackles pretty important like topics. One of Georgia's fear, and it's very interesting because as I was reading it, I had never really like thought about it that way, but now that I read it, I mean it freaked me out a bit, I'm not gonna lie. Love is so important in our society, and love as in a relationship kind of love, and sex and all that stuff. And we are bound to get married someday. I mean, the society wants it. It's what the world wants, and it's what the world wants us to do. And so when she was like thinking about how she's probably going to end up alone, because even though she has friends now, I mean, her friends are probably going to end up married and with family, and even though they will still like share that bond of friendship, and even though in the book itself she learns that for her friendship is going to be it for her, and it's going to be the most important like bond in her life, and that's pretty important, that sometimes in some ways friendship is even stronger than love, like as in a relationship and non-platonic way. Even though she learns about that, she's still scared at the end of the day, because someday she will be old and she will have, I mean, no family in the sense of like she won't have children, she won't have a significant other maybe, and it terrifies her. And I had never like even begun to have that thought specifically, and now I have it, and I'm also terrified. And what I liked about the angle that Alice Oseman went with that part of the storyline is that she doesn't have an answer yet, and it's probably because the Alice Oseman, the author, she identifies herself as aro ace, and she's, I mean, I think she's older than me, but like for only 3 years, like, so I think she's like 24, 25. I think she doesn't have the answers either. Like, for the moment, she knows that friendship is the most important thing for her, and that's what she wanted to make us like feel and make us understand with this book, and I think that's her answer for now. But I think she doesn't know yet what's going to happen to her. I think the relationship she has with her family and especially her cousin Alice was very interesting. It was something I couldn't relate to at all because I don't have the chance of having someone in my family who's like me and who feels towards sex and relationship the same way Alice does. I think it was a very interesting thing to bring up for Georgia because as a character she was at that point where she knew what asexuality was, and I think at that point, I can't remember exactly, but I think she also knew what aromantism was, and she had learned from Sunil but also from like the searches she did on the internet. And I think it was so great for her to be not exactly a mentor but to be this person for her cousin, and even though like her cousin is older than her, for her to finally know like what it is. Because I've had this conversation with my mom and a couple of other people about labels and how they can be important and how they can like help you and how at the same time they're not necessary. And I think it's still true, and this scene especially in the book was very important because it showcases how much label can like truly help you and make you feel not alone, because as soon as Alice knew like what she was actually a thing, it had a name, she was so relieved and you could feel it, and I really like that scene. I also really enjoyed the scene where Sunil explains to Georgia what asexuality is. I think his explanation was great, and the way all this scene goes made me like cry a lot, because it's Georgia like slowly figuring out that what she felt and what she thought wasn't so weird, and that as I said before, that it had a name, it's okay, and it could be her identity, you know, she wasn't like being weird, it was okay. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is in the very last part where Rooney, I don't know how to pronounce her name either, I'm sorry, comes back towards her with flowers and stuff. It was so emotional and it was so beautiful, and it touched me a lot because it reminded me of the friendship I had with my best friend, and the whole like speech she makes to her with the I'll be it for you, you know. I understand how friendship is the most important thing for you, and I will be it for you. I will be this person. I will not like let you go. I will grow old with you and stuff. It was so touching and beautifully written, and I don't know, man, I love that. I love that interaction. I love that scene. As I said before, I love Sunil. I also love Jason. He's like a cinnamon roll and I want to protect him for everything. And I love the fact that at some point I think he understood that Georgia might be on the asexual spectrum, and how he brought that up like very like, you know, sneakily, like not sneakily, I mean, but it was smooth with his, you know, I mean, I think I could go without sex in a relationship. I think it was so beautiful and cute of him to like say that, even though at that point she didn't know and he didn't know either, but to us reader to know that he would have been fine with it, I think it showcases how precious he is as a person and as a character. As I said, I had mixed feelings for Georgia because she triggered a lot of, I mean, bad memories for me with how I used to feel and think about stuff in the past, but it was normal. And at the end of the day, I like her, and I like the fact that she's not emotional because she doesn't cry, but I like the fact that she thinks a lot about stuff, you know, and she tries to do the good thing and she ends up doing the wrong thing, and I like her. The character I didn't like that much was Pip, and I don't know exactly why, because I liked her in the beginning. I think she was funny, and she has some pretty funny moments. I'm not gonna pretend she's not a fun character, but I couldn't like her that much, and that's part of like one of the things that disappointed me in this book is the whole like Pip and Rooney relationship, because I know we're supposed to ship them, and if it was any other book, or if Pip was a bit different, I would have shipped them, because I love those like kind of tension kind of story, you know, like we we're frenemies kind of, and then we're lovers. I love that usually, but I don't know, I think I didn't ship it because I didn't like Pip as a character, and since Wune, I still don't know how to pronounce her name, but since she's one of my favorite characters, were like, you can do so much better, girl. Like, come on. So yeah, I know that's probably an unpopular opinion, but I didn't like Pip that much. Like I said, she still had good scenes, but yeah, no, not really my cup of tea. A great thing this book does is to represent like different sexualities and gender identities with Sunil and even other characters. I think it was also very interesting to have like not one but many characters who identify with the hero or ace label, or even like both of them, because it showcases how you can, I mean, there isn't like one way to be aro and ace, the same way there isn't one way to be gay or to be lesbian or to be whatever exactly, to be non-binary. There is, I mean, everyone is different, everyone has different experiences with life and stuff, so of course there is going to be different ways to feel towards it and stuff, and I think that book does that pretty great. My advice would be read this book, hang up if you don't like it from the beginning, hang up, because it gets pretty great, and I think it's a great book in terms of representation and yeah, like a coming of age story and a coming out story about an ace and aro character. We don't have many books like this one, so yeah, thank you so much for watching. Keep reading books and see you next time.